Welcome back to These Things Are Written on this Thursday, second to last day that we will be looking at the book of Genesis. Let's continue today by reading Genesis 49. It is where Jacob gives a blessing and really a prophecy for each of his sons. It's important. I'm only going to read them for a few of the sons. I'd like you to read the rest of the chapter, either before or after, to follow up and see what some of the other prophecies are. If you have a good study Bible, the Lutheran Study Bible is the one I often use and got quite a bit of my information from, or the Concordia Self-Study Bible, or any others. It should be able to help you understand a little bit more about these prophecies. Let's begin with Genesis 49, verse 1. Then Jacob called his sons and said, "Gather yourselves together, that I may tell you what shall happen to you in days to come. Assemble and listen, O sons of Jacob. Listen to Israel your father. Reuben, you are my firstborn, my might, and the first fruits of my strength, preeminent in dignity and preeminent in power. Unstable as water, you shall not have preeminence. Because you went up to your father's bed, then you defiled it. He went up to my couch. Simeon and Levi are brothers. Weapons of violence are their swords. Let my soul come not into their counsel. O my glory, be not joined to their company. For in their anger they killed men, and in their willingness they hamstrung oxen. Cursed be their anger, for it is fierce, and their wrath, for it is cruel. I will divide them in Jacob and scatter them in Israel. Judah, your brothers shall praise you. Your hand shall be on the neck of your enemies. Your father's sons shall bow down before you. Judah is a lion's cub. From the prey, my son, you have gone up. He stooped down. He crouched as a lion, and as a lioness who dares rouse him. The scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor the ruler's staff from between his feet, until the tribute comes to him. And to him shall be the obedience of the peoples. We're going to look at these four. The other 8, I am going to have you read on your own and understand it. First of all, looking at Reuben. Reuben was the firstborn son of Leah, firstborn of Jacob. And as firstborn, there should be honor. As it said, preeminent in dignity and preeminent in power. The oldest, as we saw with Jacob and Esau, should be the one who gets the double of the birthright, who gets the position of leadership in the family. But because of what Reuben had done, he says, you are unstable as water in verse 4. You shall not have preeminence. A couple things that he did. First of all, as it mentions, you went up to your father's bed. He slept with Bilhah, one of his wives' handmaidens, the mother of his half-brothers, okay? So for that reason, in a way, showing that you were doing more, knowing more than your father, or assuming that role too early. And the other thing is, remember that while he did care for Joseph and did not want him to get sold and to be killed, he wasn't able to fully rescue him from going into slavery. And because of that, he really became an insignificant tribe. One that should be great, instead was not. The next 2, Simeon and Levi. Oh, we remember them from a couple weeks ago, don't we? How they killed the men of Shechem after they convinced them to be circumcised because of the issue with their sister Dinah. You remember that story. One of those not so nice stories in the book of Genesis. because of that, because of their violence, they would not be the ones in preeminence either. Being the second and third born, you would think that they would take a role, but instead it says, you shall not have preeminence. I missed that. I will divide them in Jacob. I will scatter them in Israel, in verse 7. Simeon, the tribe of Simeon, would actually be surrounded by Judah and in time would end up being absorbed into Judah. Levi was the priestly tribe, and it's interesting that the priestly tribe would come out of this example of murder and of violence, but yet he would be a priestly tribe and he would not have land designated to that tribe. They would be scattered and have cities among the other tribes. Then finally, Judah, the fourth-born son of Jacob, again, son of Leah, fourth of six. Judah really didn't have that good of a reputation either, did he? He sold his brother into slavery. He slept with his daughter-in-law, and she ended up having twins, even though he didn't know that she was his daughter-in-law. Yet, remember, he was also the one that was remorseful, the one who was willing to give of himself so that Benjamin could return home because he loved his father and didn't want his father to hurt anymore. He was remorseful. He learned. He gave of himself. And because of that, the scepter would not be removed from him. He would be the leader of that kingly line, beginning with David and ending with Jesus. It points to the salvation that Israel would have through David, the king by which all other kings were measured, the king to whom the promise was given that his descendant would sit on the throne forever. But Jacob is already prophesying that to his son Judah. And through that line would come Jesus. As we get close to wrapping up this great book, we see Jesus here as well. Jesus is throughout the Bible. The promise of him in the Old Testament, the fulfillment of it in the New. Come back tomorrow as we wrap up Genesis 50. We'll see you then.